Hi, I'm Joe Shortsleeve, and I'm a candidate for state senate in the special election Tuesday, October 17th, for the Bristol, Norfolk Senate seat, the seat vacated by Jim Timilty. I want to thank the folks here at Mansfield Cable for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today about who I am and where I stand on some very important issues. First of all, I'm a local Massachusetts kid. I went to Boston College High School in Dorchester and Holy Cross College in Worcester, Massachusetts. After that, I spent, well, I hate to admit it, but it was 35 years in television news. 30 of those years were on Boston television, and 25 of those years were at WBZ TV. During that time, I had a chance to cover many issues, and of course, I met more than my share of politicians, and I also met Jim Timilty. And Jim Timilty was somebody who I always admired and respected. He was a good guy. He was somebody who always told you the truth. So Jim and I became very close over the years. And when I moved to Medfield some 5 years ago, I didn't even know that I had moved into Jim Timilty's district. And I thought about it because I'd left television in 2014, and I said to myself, I would consider running for public office at some point, but the only thing I'd be interested in would be the state Senate seat. And my good buddy Jim Timilty's in the seat, and he's younger than I am, and he's only been there 12 years, so you can forget about that. Well, when Jim Timilty left, it was like a lightning bolt of clarity that hit me and said, Joe, you got to go for this. You got to try and do this. And so I made the decision last spring when Jim Timilty resigned to go for it. The other thing about Jim Timilty, and we were not only friends, but politicians in this state to this day say that I am the candidate that most resembles Jim Timilty. He was considered the most conservative Democrat in the state Senate. And I think that's true. I think that's a very fair comparison. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is what I did for the last 10 or 12 years at WBZ TV. I worked for the WBZ I-Team. And what we did on the I-Team is we fought for the taxpayer every day. That was our mantra. I mean, whether we were doing stories about federal cancer research money that was missing, or we're doing stories about unlicensed state workers, medical workers going into people's homes and hooking up complicated equipment when they shouldn't have been, or graft or corruption at town hall, or state lawmakers who were abusing the Easy Pass carpool system on the Massachusetts Turnpike because they wanted to pay less in tolls. I was never afraid to ask the tough questions. And in that vein, I'm not going to Beacon Hill, or don't want to go to Beacon Hill to make friends. They all know me, and I know them. I'm going there to work for the people in the Bristol, Norfolk State Senate District. I have the experience, the contacts, the access, and the knowledge of the issues that I carry with me every day that will be of value on Beacon Hill. Over the years at Channel 4, I covered a lot of the same issues that are up today, whether it's Proposition 2.5 overrides, or decaying schools, or greedy developers. Don't get me started on greedy developers. I can tell you, I've chased more than a few down the street. So I thought that would be a good skill set to bring to Beacon Hill. The other thing that I did is I made a decision to run as an independent. And it was really where I was most comfortable. I think in today's world, people are so fed up with this harsh partisan rhetoric on the right and on the left, and how it's paralyzed our political process and how nothing gets done, that I said, you know what, I'm going to run as an independent because I see myself as a moderate, reasonable voice in the middle. I've always been somebody who's picked the best idea that I thought would work, not having anything to do with party. Pick the best idea. And I think that politicians should serve the people, not the party. And I think today we have politicians serving the party, not the people. So that was very important to me. And I can tell you, as I knocked on doors all over the Bristol, Norfolk Senate District, from Seekonk on up to Medfield and Mansfield and here and beyond, that resonates with people. People are really, really bothered that politicians won't talk to each other. Well, you know what? I can talk to people. There was an article in the Sun Chronicle the other day talking about how Charlie Baker is going to be doing something with the Republican candidate, Jacob Ventura, and how Joe Kennedy was going to be doing something with the Democratic candidate, Paul Feeney. And I said to myself, you know what? I know Joe Kennedy. I know Charlie Baker. I just did an event with him just recently. Both of them know me. It's a perfect example of how I can work the middle. I can have conversations with both sides. Both those gentlemen would take my phone call in a second. The other thing that happened with regards to this role as an independent is we had a primary process in this special election which just went by. And the Democrats, who did they choose? They chose a Bernie Sanders Democrat, Paul Feeney. Fine. The Republicans, who did they pick? They picked a very, very conservative Republican, Jacob Ventura. The differences, my differences with Paul Feeney and my differences with Jacob Ventura are stark. Pretty much, I work the middle ground. Talk about Paul Feeney. I mean, Paul Feeney is in favor of a single-payer health care system. I'm for universal health care, but not single-payer. The cost difference is immense. Paul Feeney is for funding sanctuary cities. I am not. He's for the millionaire's tax. I am not. If you're a taxpayer in this district, if you're concerned about your rising taxes, I would hold on to your wallet if you're thinking about voting for Paul Feeney. Jacob Ventura, I think that he is too far to the right. I don't think he represents this district. I think I am somebody who's fiscally conservative and socially liberal, pro-choice, where Jacob Ventura is not. So I think that voters have a very, very clear choice come election day. You can elect one of the extremes, or you can elect a moderate, middle-of-the-road voice who's willing to find the best solution for the problem at hand and is willing to talk to both sides and is respected by people on both sides. And the final point I want to make is about this district and how many independents there are. Different numbers from the 9 communities, but roughly it's in the 60%, I think it's as high as 65 in some communities, are people who are unenrolled. They're independent. They're not affiliated with any party. So on election day, many people just say, well, I got to vote Democrat or I got to vote Republican. No, you don't. This time, you have a choice. You have a real choice. You have an independent who will be accessible to you, who will work both sides, who will find the best solutions for you. Somebody who's not beholden to a political party. So I'm asking for your vote on Tuesday, October 17th. My name's Joe Shortsleeve. It's a special election, so the voter turnout's going to be low that day, which means that your vote is all the more important. So thank you very much. Thank you to Mansfield Cable. Thank you to the folks who watch this channel here in Mansfield. And please vote for Joe Shortsleeve on Tuesday, October 17th.